Alright, so I just pulled this transmission out of this 2005 Jeep Wrangler. This automatic, I've been talking about the transfer case and the transmission for a little while now, and I'm just not getting around to pulling it out. Transmission was toast, of course. So I just want to give you a few heads up here when pulling it. These two top bolts here are inverted Torx heads. So if you know, I don't have it with me because I done took it and piled all my bolts up. I'm kind of wrapping this up now, but if you know what a Torx head looks like, it's an inverted one. So it fits over like a socket, but it's like a 12-point almost deal, but it's not 12-point, it's an inverted Torx head. So make sure you got some of them or go get them. I believe it was a number 14 or 12. I can't remember which off the top of my head. It was one or the other, but the top two are that. The rest of them are regular bolts. But if you don't have that and you're in the middle of this project, that can be a little bit of pain. Luckily, I had a friend down the road that has some of those sockets. And yeah, I got one out, but then the other one stripped. I don't know if I had it at an angle or what, but it stripped out. So, long story short here, basically the easiest way for me to get that sucker out, because I tried to use a easy out, that did not work. I tried to use a screwdriver and hit it at an angle, that did not work, and it's pretty tight up in there in that firewall, was for me to get a small 3-inch cutoff wheel off air wheel there, basically, and you could get in there and cut that thing. You can see where I nicked on the transmission a little bit, but it's not bad. It doesn't matter. I've got another transmission anyway, but this one's still perfectly fine. If you wanted to rebuild it or something, that didn't hurt it. But it was perfect room to get that thing up in there, and you gotta do some cutting, of course, wear you some safety glasses. That stuff's flying from up there. There is a bracket that goes right there, and it did whack on that bracket some, and if you were probably a little bit more careful than me, maybe you could save it a little bit better. But I didn't. I whacked it up some. Pretty good bit, actually. So basically, you can see where the bolt was supposed to go through it down here. And all you had right up here was, this is where your wire loom just popped in there. That's all it was for. This was actually bent over. So, technically could I save it? Probably so. Maybe put a big washer on it right there and clamp down on it. I mean, it's not supporting a transmission or anything like that. No big deal. I might not even put it back on there. Other thing I want to point out, if you haven't done one of these before, or a newer transmission like this, you've got a lot of wires. You got a plug over here, make sure you unplug it. You got a plug up there, make sure you unplug it. You got a plug there, you got a plug down there, you've got a plug right there. Make sure you unplug all them plugs. Your wiring harness is going to come across this top of this transmission, and you can see one place here, one, I believe right here, another one pops in. I had to pull out. I can't remember where all, there was some of these that pops in there and I pulled out. Make sure you get all that off when you're dropping it. Your transmission dipstick, make sure you pull your bolt out there so you can pull that out when you're dropping it. I just left my breather tube hooked up, no big deal. Transmission lines, pretty simple. Alright, well, I say that, but they're not bad. So basically here, your transmission lines, they just push in, and there's actually a little snap ring deal that kind of goes around here. It's not really a snap ring, I don't know what you call it, but it's a spring. Let me get my hand with camera on it, It's a spring that fits over it, and it fits in these little indentions. It's kind of like a C-clip even more, and you can get you like a little pocket knife, a little small one, or a little pick or something, and get in between it and pick it out. Be careful, because that thing will want to fly out, but if you get in there and pick it out, the line just pulls straight out. Before you even do that, though, there's a little white cap on there that just kind of covers it up. So you got your line that goes in, a white cap that covers over it. Get your screwdriver or whatever, pull that white cap back, and it just slides back over the transmission line, and then you can see that little ring there. Put your pick, your little knife or whatever, pull that out. I try to stick my other hand up under it so it wouldn't go flying, so I'd have them. So that was fairly easy to pop them out, and you know, one of them was a little stubborn. You had to kind of pull on it some, whatever, but it'll come. I promise you. You're not going to break nothing or anything. It'll come on out. Trying to think anything else. All right, your shift linkage. So it basically bolts on the side of the transmission on a bracket and comes this way. Then the end of it just fits over this. All you do is take a screwdriver and just pry down on it, and it'll pop off that little ball right there. It's just a little indention groove there. It'll pop off it with a screwdriver. No big deal, nothing to it. So for people that's, you know, done these, hey, I know this is just simple general knowledge, but I hadn't messed with a newer transmission before. I've changed old automatics, and I've changed the manuals, but this was my first experience with a newer electronic transmission like this, pulling all these wires and everything else all loose from it. And somebody else, this might be your first time too, and I'm just trying to, you know, maybe give you a little advice. It'd been nice to know about them inverted Torx heads there before I got started. And I don't know, did I get my wrench in there maybe boogered up to begin with before I even got the right socket? It's possible, because I was trying to get it out with a wrench and a socket, and I couldn't figure out what was going on until I got it tilted back and got behind it and started looking up in there. Something that'll help you too is get you a long extension. Borrow one, you know, buy one, whatever, but it will definitely help if you can get one that will run back here, or get you a swivel to do it. That'll definitely help too. But so pretty much you can see all the wires and stuff. You know, it's a bunch, the brackets, I kind of just took everything loose. I don't have a shop, I just got a shed that I work out of, and I kind of lay some boards down and everything else. But putting this thing back in, more than likely I will take it to my friend's shop. He just lives right down the road, and we'll get this thing up on a lift and use some transmission jacks and everything, and that way I can get all these wires run back like they supposed to go. I'm not telling you can't do it out on the ground like this, because everybody can't afford a nice, you know, lift and shop, but to make it a whole lot easier, that's what I'm going to do, I hope. But it is definitely possible and doable on the ground for sure. That's about all I can think. I'd already drained the fluid out, so I didn't have a big mess, you know, coming out the shaft or anything like that. Hope this helps somebody out. See y'all next time I got a project.